Tim Lautzenheiser here. Welcome back to Backstage. I know the loyalists are there that watch this all the time, and we get great comments. So thank you for sharing those with us. And be sure to tell your friends. We're getting a bigger audience all the time. It's great. You know, we have wonderful guests. That's a part of this whole thing. And in our profession, there's great musicians, there's great educators, there's great philosophers, and there's people just like really smart. And then occasionally you'll find somebody that has all of those qualities in one. And that's our guest today. He's brings a rich history of accolades. We won't take time going through those, it'll take too long. But he's sitting out in Southern California now. So would you welcome my dear friend, Larry Livingston.
I'm delighted to be with you. Thanks for including me in this wonderful adventure.
So first day of school out there, yeah?
Yes, we started today and we're going to end at Thanksgiving. Unusual schedule so that when the students go home, typically if they went home for Thanksgiving and then they're going to bring unfortunately they could bring some of the virus back. Mm-hmm. This way, Thanksgiving, they're done. So that's the plan.
Is everything at USC virtual? You doing everything virtual?
Everything. Yeah, everything's going to be virtual. Okay. We've tried hybrid, we've tried everything, but we have to abide by city and county policy about physical distancing and so on. So no, it's all going to be online.
Yeah, that's great. Well, your students are lucky to hang around you. Would you give us a brief history of Larry Livingston? Since you're what, 36 now? You just had a birthday?
That's my IQ. So yeah, I was born in a little town in Michigan. My dad was my high school band director. I grew up, I wanted to be a band person. And although my life has gone through a lot of iterations, that basic idea has never changed. So I went to school at Michigan. I was a clarinet major and a music ed major. And I taught at Luther College for a few years. Then I worked on a PhD in UC San Diego. And during that time, I morphed from being a clarinet player to a conductor, administrator, educator, jazz person, motivational speaker, etc. through all those iterations. And I ended up going to Northern Illinois, where I did the orchestra and wind ensemble. Then I was VP of New England Conservatory in Boston for a few years, then Dean of the Shepherd School at Rice in Houston. And then for the last 32 years, I've been, first of all, Dean of the Thornton School of Music at USC, and now I'm on the faculty chair of the conducting department. But in that interesting excursion, one of the most remarkable sidebars was I was on the board of the Guitar Center. Mm-hmm. And I spent a lot of time going all over the country talking to band directors about how I could be more helpful. And I also got to know the industry side of the equation, which has been extremely enlightening for me, to say the least.
That's great. You said you went right out of college into a college job at Luther, yes?
Yes, that's true. Okay. It was a whole different time. I was taking clarinet lessons, doing a master's degree in music theory at Michigan, and my clarinet teacher kept putting on my stand job openings. I'm 22. He says, you got to get out of here, otherwise you're going to be a full-time forever student. And so those days are quite different from the situation students face now. So yeah, when I was 23, I took the job at age 22. I started teaching at Luther when I was 23. Kind of a crime against nature, teaching students my age. And I loved every minute of it. And I had the good fortune to be Weston Noble's assistant, which was a transformative gift for me in terms of my work on the podium and my work as an educator.
That was sort of 180 degrees from Michigan, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, Ravelli was a wonderful, complicated guy. He was a great teacher. His pedagogy had a lot to offer, but also he had a lot of personal issues. And so he sort of deputized people in the band to go out and create a high school band, just like the Michigan band. Mm. And to do that, you had to be a tough, unrelenting, determined kind of Toscanini type. Mm-hmm. And Weston Noble showed me very quickly that you had to just be who you are. And he was an angel. That was his way. So I kind of figured out it's got to be me, for better or for worse.
That's great. How many years totally teaching, Larry? How many?
This is now, I'm in my 56th year. Mm-hmm. Actually, 56 years without break. Even though I've moved around a bit, I taught a year of public school, drove the school bus to the 7th grade and 8th grade, could rehearse together, and went through all those machinations. And So counting summer school and so on, I basically have not been out of school since I was 22.
That's great. Well, we'll take a left turn here. What's going on with your teaching right now under these unusual circumstances?
Right now, I'm teaching online. I'm teaching conducting. I'm teaching an intermediate class of graduate students, and then an advanced conducting class for doctoral students who are majoring in oboe or choral music or organ or whatever, but who want a minor in conducting. So I have those two classes, and then I have, depending on the semester, I have 8 or 9 private students who actually want to go out and finish doing a minor field, which means taking lessons and actually giving a recital as a conductor. So I'm doing that all for the first time online and looking forward to the challenge of it.
Again, you you mentioned you're a motivational speaker, whatever that means. In this time when teachers are facing all kinds of different options, and you're in the trenches, you're on the front lines, boots are on here. What kind of advice would you give those people in terms of something they can actually grab a hold of and move forward with?
That's a wonderful question, and I'm not sure I have a silver bullet. I think it starts with don't complain,
Mm.
because this isn't an evil plot. It's just how the world is right now. Second of all, everybody who's gone into music ed, I think, actually did it loving the idea of music, loving the idea of teaching, and most of all, loving the idea of teaching children. But no one who took that on was unaware of the challenges that one was going to face, even without the pandemic. So I see us as challenge jockeys. We don't mind riding that horse. And then I think it's time to encourage your kids to start doing more composition. The kids have all kinds of tools at home. Having your kids in the group start writing music, maybe for small groups, because most band rooms have enough room so you could put, even with physical distancing, 8 or 10 people. Uh, Also, improvisation,
Mhm.
working without notation. A friend of mine, Stephen Nachmanovich, and I improvised from time to time, and he told me something that was really cool. Um, the problem of latency, of course, is the big issue. You can't really play together. We use latency as part of the performance. We use the latency in improvisation because the rules of improvisation do not require you to cleave to the page.
Mhm.
So I think there are opportunities there. Also, doing music by underrepresented minorities, by people of color, by non-binary individuals, a great opportunity, and to get publishers to do something about it. Uh, I think we just don't know where the future is. I think we have to focus on now as though we woke up one day and this is what it was, rather
Mhm.
than uh, continuing to wallow in rue because what we had is gone. Okay, it's gone. So what would you do if you just showed up on a planet one day and this is what it was? And I think if we apply enough enlightened intelligences to this, I think we'll arrive at some interesting solutions, many of which I don't think are going to go away even when and if we return to normal behavior.
Yeah.
So we should treat, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, that wonderful book by Richard Bach,
Mhm.
said every problem brings a gift.
Yes.
So the issue is what's the gift this problem will give us? And I think staying in personal contact with the students is essential.
Yes.
Individually, Zoom provides a golden opportunity to do that, no charge, nothing. So
Yes.
continue to remember that your program from the beginning's success was not just based on your pedagogy or your artistry. It was based on something actually bigger. And that is your ability to inspire and motivate children. So why not do that virtually rather than throwing in the towel?
And it would be easy to throw in the towel and everybody would have all the reasons for it. This is going to be the softest pitch in the world I'm going to throw you. Uh, we always say that the group is a reflection of the director and how important the director is now. The teacher is more important now than ever, wouldn't you say?
I think it is right because for several reasons. One is, the most important model for any child is the parents, and that's good, and that's how it should be. But the interaction with adults is largely been curtailed in a way because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
So being caught in that cloister with just your parents,
Mhm.
useful as it is incomplete. And I think we need to look at what we do as adults as models for how human beings can flourish in their lives
Mhm.
by the energy and dynamism we bring to it, and by inculcating in the kid the opportunity to realize you are going to be inventing your life. You're inventing it each day that you get up. Be thankful you have enough to eat. Be thankful that you have air you can breathe. And then think, what is it I can do today to make meaningful use of the time that I have? And watching television would be really low on my list. Not watching other people act out their lives, acting out your life, being
Yes.
present every day. Get your
Yes.
instrument out and practice. I mean, you've
Yes.
been complaining for years that you don't have time to practice. Now, practice until the cows come home.
Amen. Um, Communication, you and I've talked about it so many times. You have this incredible ability. If I sit and have breakfast with you, I'm mesmerized on that one-to-one conversation. I've also seen you stand in front of an auditorium full of 4,000 people and hold them in the palm of your hand. Tell me, what's the secret sauce to this Livingston communication that you have?
Gosh, I'm not sure I have an answer for it because I just do what I do.
Hmm.
And it's not really a calculation, it's a kind of organic derivative of just who I am. But I think part of it has to do with uh, expressing the inner self in a way that's completely authentic and vulnerable, so that you are an older version of the same adventure that every child is taking, and that your mistakes are part of that. And it's all to me about taking the wall down, that you're not the know-it-all, you're not the wizard, you're just an older version of someone who's trying to find meaning in life. And so I try to share that with students. I use humor. I learn the names, if I can, of every kid in the group.
Hmm.
That's not easy to do. And someone said to me, gosh, you must have a tremendous memory. And my answer was, actually, I have a good memory. But it's important to me. So what I say to that person who thinks I'm some kind of genius memory person, um, if you walked into a room of 40 people and I said I would give you $50 for every person's name you can remember when we're done,
Yeah.
I'll bet your memory would get a lot better. So that's essentially, um, I think, the recipe for me. And I try to start by demythalizing what it means to be the conductor,
Mm.
just allowing that to be a natural expression of my love for music hasn't changed since I was their age. A
Mhm.
C major chord can still bring chills up my spine,
Mhm.
and I think they see that, and it's something about the that fine line between being an adult and having, of course, white hair and looking old, but the child lives there. Somehow, the child that's in all of us, they see,
Yes.
and I think that gets them. I think it
Yeah.
gets them to realize that the rest of their lives, also the child will be there. And if you get it right, the child is always part of it. Not childish, but
Right.
childlike forever.
Yes.
I don't know. The next time you ask me, I might be completely answer because I don't really know. Okay.
No.
Maybe it's the bribes. I don't know.
It's so genuine, and that's not to make you feel good, but it's so genuine that all the walls are let down and you want to go into it. You want to be next to whatever you have to deliver. And what's the number one fear of human beings is public speaking. And I've seen you like lean in the harness, like, let's go now. You enjoy that intrinsic moment of communication with people. Yeah.
I do. I enjoy that contact, and I think even though we're in a virtual world now, I still feel that. I feel the viscera of that, and I like that. And I'm hoping as we embark on this semester that I'll be able to do what I did last spring, where we taught for 5 weeks online, and the students, I think, feel the person that I am.
Hmm.
And I love getting to know them and their stories. I mean, one of the things that I learned the hard way is every human being has a story. So be careful you don't judge or interpret that person based on whether they're smiling, frowning, not looking at you, whatever. You do not know what lies behind. And so I try to, without being uh, excessively invasive, find out who is that. Because once I find that out, then I feel I can communicate with someone more than just the person I'm looking at. I'm communicating with the person that is.
Yes. Um, I mean, you say it so well, Larry, and I would give anything to have 10% of your vocabulary. I'm going to throw up two things for you here because you've already bumped into it a couple times: content and context. What's the mixture for a great band director, orchestra director, music educator?
Well, I think content is really important. Um, I think an inspiring band director having the marching band rehearse 400 hours a week to win a trophy uh, is a misuse of personal charisma.
Hmm.
So the content has been trumped by something that destroys the equity and balance between the two. So I'm a big content junkie. I really think it's important that the music that you teach the students you believe in. It doesn't have to be Beethoven. If you're doing band, that's not going to happen anyway. But music that you believe in. And then I think in the end, actually, the deal maker is the context. It's setting the stage for an atmosphere of receptivity. And to do that, it's essential that you believe in the music because if you don't, they will bust you.
Yes.
And if you believe in the music, then you can be free of the music and you need to look at them as though you're in a performance. Every rehearsal has to be a performance in the sense that the student's responsiveness can be measured just by looking in their eyes. If you see them participating, you've got it. If they're doing the deer in the headlights thing, you could be solving world hunger. It won't matter.
Right.
You could be Leonard Bernstein brought to life on a podium, and they'll think that's some guy who runs a butcher shop on Fourth Avenue. It is really essential that you read the environment. And one of the great exemplars of that is Tim Lautzenheiser. You like him, nice guy, a little younger than me, not a lot, a little younger than me. And the way that he works the crowd is there could be 10,000 people there, but somehow every one of those 10,000 people thinks that's the only person that's there. So I have many mentors and exemplars out there that I try to steal from.
And I'm stealing from you. That's what. This guy, I just want to make a whole volume series out of this. Um, the clock's running, so in a time when it's never been like anybody could ever even begin to script, we couldn't have made this up, right? It's just so far out. How important is it for music education, Larry, and music industry to work together hand in hand, lock arms?
I think it's essential. From my memory as a child, I remember when my dad was my band director, I used to tag along and we'd go to music stores together. And he'd sit there with a bunch of other band directors who were looking over the newest publications from whatever company. And that harmonious relationship, I think, was lost for a while. And I think it's really important that the two work in absolute reflective duality. Uh, we need each other. The industry needs us, and we need the industry. And having been on the board of the Guitar Center, I can tell you that even though that company was all about the usual goals of profit and so on, a lot of the dialogue in the meetings had to do with the personal relationship with the music education community. And that's actually one of the reasons they had me on the board, is they thought I could be a conduit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's essential, and I think we're more poised for that connectivity than we've ever been. I think the pandemic's handing that to us. And I think that Con Selmer is the gold standard. Thanks to you, Con Selmer understood this from the beginning, ever since you joined the company. And the idea that the industry needs to pay attention to the educators, clear, but we need to pay attention to them, not see them as the enemy, not see them as people just trying to make a buck, but rather people who would like to win on two levels, be profitable and be carrier of goodness, to do something that actually helps the planet. And it's possible to do both.
Yes. When you were at Guitar Center, Larry, and you did that whole outreach that was all in,
Right?
I mean, you interviewed people coast to coast around the world, and you went for the big guys too, right? What did you discover? What did you find out from that?
Well, I discovered a lot of things, and I know we have a time constraint, but I discovered that there's a fair amount of enthusiasm out there for the industry, and especially for Consumer. A lot of the people I talked to were band directors, but not all.
Mhm.
I talked to college music education faculty, principals, administrators, parents, kids, hundreds of conversations, and um, I continue to believe that the teaching of music is absolutely essential to the human adventure, and
Mhm.
that great music educators understand that. My all-in idea is expanded well beyond band as the terrain. Band is an anchor, but it includes orchestra, hip hop, guitar, etc. Because the idea is more kids doing music, teach them so they don't need you, and help them have it forever.
Mm.
But what Consumer has done and is doing is already a kind of paving the highway for everybody else. And that's what I heard over and over again from the people I talked to.
How important is music to a child's growth and development? Every child.
I think that you can't be completely human without music. And the ability to develop as a human being is to some degree an offshoot of the time you spent in music. Because we know from neuroscience that the neurotransmitters are sending oxytocin and dopamine, two wonderful chemicals. We know what it does for your intellectual and academic uh, capabilities. What hasn't been tested, but what I think is core, is what it does for you spiritually.
Mm.
Uh, every human being really wants to spend a life with enough to eat, to be safe, and to have meaning. And doing music means meaning in the sense that you are completely present in the moment. Nothing else matters around you. And we have so much distracting stuff in the culture. The purity of that sanctuary where the kid's practicing the oboe in his or her room, um, to me, is a sacred endeavor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of all of us. This is perfect because the in any other situation, people go to math class and they learn math, and then they might go to college to be a math major. Our profession so much is dictated by the person, the mentor, which would be more than. I mean, the subject matter, yes, oh my, we're all about music, but it's usually a teacher that gets us there or bridges us there. Just talk about that for a second, because I think that's so important, and it's how important the directors are that are watching this. They're how important they are.
I think I might have mentioned this in a recent um, talk I did. I think everybody who is doing music professionally as an educator or performer can trace back in his or her history to that moment when the teacher turned on the ignition switch.
Mm-hmm.
And that pivotal moment really aligns all of us with the simple idea that it's about the teacher. I think a great teacher can teach the cactus how to play viola. I think a great teacher can create miracles in the most difficult circumstances. And I've been in states around the country, I won't name which one, Texas, where there's a band director that has, 14 assistants and a moat and a drawbridge between the school and the band room and all of the paraphernalia. And yet, so somehow the program lies fallow. And what's the issue? It's always that person. It's not going to change. And I think actually it's the teacher who's affected the professional aspirations of people, not even just in music. I think in general,
Yes.
People who want to be engineers remember the physics teacher they had in the 11th grade. The
Yep.
teacher is really it. And it's because we're destined to be connected to each other. And that's why it's so important for us to somehow survive this pandemic so we can do that. But meanwhile, I think in this circumstance, the power of virtual connectivity, we have to play that to the hilt. We have to make that work. It's always
And
the teacher.
yeah, you can actually use it to your advantage. That would open up landscapes that otherwise wouldn't have been there. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, I think the goal here is to say, what are the limitations that are holding us in check, but rather, what are the opportunities that this has provided?
Yes. You know, every time I'm with you, I feel like I should pay you some kind of tuition or therapy payment or something
Would you
because
want my address or anything?
no, what a wonderful thing for a teacher that when you're with them, when you leave, you like yourself better. I mean, isn't that what we're trying to do?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I think in the end, every human being, babies are not born mean. They're
Yes.
born prepared for goodness. And
Yes.
what the teacher can do is to find the goodness that lives inside.
Boy, that's for sure. Okay. Any last thoughts to share with our
No,
audience?
I'm just happy to be part of this enterprise and blessed to be part of the Con Summer Initiative. And I'm looking forward to what we can do together as we move forward.
Larry, thank you. Thank you for your time. You are a dear friend. You know I love you, and say hi to Karen and to all the people out there that are watching this. Larry is one of those people you can pick up the phone and call, and he will stay with you until your problem is solved or your question is answered. He's the real deal for sure. So thank you again, dear friend. To all of you watching, we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Backstage. And in the meantime, let's let the music begin.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Tim. Bye.